Hello, everybody. This is Bart Sharp, and you are on Becoming Quantum Conscious at United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 107.7 and 103.5 FM, broadcasting out of the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana, also on Roku, Facebook, YouTube, and UPRN Talk Radio website and other internet platforms. And we're pre-recording this show, so I want to give you a little bit of time reference. This is September 8th and 2025. And what this means is that we are one day after the eclipse on September 7th. And of course, as many of you know, that I'm in France still, and I'll be here for the rest of the month. However, we were at the Great Stargate Peak de Bougarage last night, my friend Pennie Loftus and I, and we are in Stardust hangover right now.
We are.
It's really amazing to be in eclipse. That was a major earth-shattering eclipse.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Be at a Stargate. Be at the place where the veils are thinnest, looking at the Stargate, and having all of this stuff happen.
Yeah.
As Pennie was telling me, when you have an eclipse, and please add in with this, Pennie, it's almost like the light bends a little bit more, and a different reality shows up where the eclipse is happening between the moon and the sun, or the sun and the moon, whatsoever, something like that. But that edge.
So my guides were explaining to me that when we have an eclipse, it creates a new container for the way forward for the collective. So that's why it's normally on a full moon. I mean, obviously that's because of the physics as well. But from an etheric point of perspective, it creates a weaving of the next path for the collective. And each eclipse, whether it be solar or lunar, adds to this and creates this web. And it creates with the flower of life and with all the sacred geometry. So last night when we were at Bugarash, we could feel this energy, and it was just creating. And of course, Saturn's around. Today is the day of 7, the number of Egypt. 7 is activation, 8 is Gaia, and it was very Gaia laden, because she's creating with Source for the next stage. She has evolved, and she's waiting for our consciousness to open up so we can then embrace the new way on planet. And many of us are coming to that realization, and we are asked to release the past because it doesn't serve us anymore. So it's the end of karmic times as we're moving into a new era.
Yes, and this is the moon happened to be in Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
And so hence one more movement into the Aquarian age as we're kind of moving along. And so, as we were getting it, it's a lot about embodiment. And wherever you were with the eclipse or in the future eclipses and other amazing astrological happenings and other things, the more we participate, the more we're aware and allow this change to happen inside of our bodies. Not only are we getting facilitated for change, but we are changing the genome for all.
Absolutely. It's working within your DNA. It's expanding your DNA to hold more light, because we're going to be walking this experience with Gaia. She's experienced this experience through us. And so it's up to us to hold more light. We either reincarnate or we work with these bodies and walk forward with them.
Yeah. And so I think it's more fun to be on the cutting edge and be with the flow of this instead of being in resistance to it, because resistance and denial sometimes are painful. And almost like it's hard to go backwards in these times. And if you do
Yes.
want to go backwards, like, oh, I've had enough and I want to return to a safer age, uh, there's going to be a lot of stuff working against you, basically. So, the question is how can you incorporate this or into your own embodiment and start allowing this to be? And after we experienced this, which to me was like an experience of all of these particulates from the moon, from the eclipse, and from the Book of Rosh, all magnified together, coming into my body, and you could feel just a different vibration coming in.
Yeah. I mean, the Aquarian, as you would call it in the cosmic astrology that we've channeled, it's 1185 hertz, which is the feminine God particle. And it's working in harness with the sun, which is the love energy, the 528. And so when you couple those two together, it's going to flush out a lot in the system. And this is the year of water. This is the year of 432, the all, where everything is being flushed, and we're all feeling it. Everyone,
Mm-hmm.
everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of sessions with people, and everyone is feeling it. But
Yes.
it's how we deal with it and how we move forward, and that's why we're having lots of channelings about the ancients, because it's going to help us springboard forward.
Yes, yes, because some of that needs to be coming alive with this. And it's just interesting as we're living in a place where water is paramount. It's coming from a charged Stargate, it's coming from other power spots, and hence these are mountains that take in rainwater, and then that comes through the springs itself to make rivers, to go through a small town called Renley. And there's this triangle of highly energized water there. And I see it kind of as a spearhead, a place, and it's probably not the only place. You could probably see the Ganges River is the same. Other rivers throughout the world are trying to bring up another consciousness because water does that. And those places where everything, all the water is piped in and it's held in containers for long periods of time, uh, we're just in that state of being of, can this water change to something higher? Because as we know about water, it's very mutable.
Absolutely.
It can very much change.
It's like the temple in Abydos where the water comes up, the Osiris temple, and they don't know what's feeding this water. And there's a similar one in Utah, in America.
Mm.
And these waters are coming up, and they can't actually find out where these waters are coming from. And so
Mm.
this opens up consciousness. And when we were working there last year, it was quite incredible how it was working with the animals around, like the birds. There was lots of pigeons there, and they were all taking these codes from the water, and it was just magical. It really
It
was.
is, and those sources, if one's nearby you, please drink that type of water, bring it, mix it in with that other water. Keep doing ceremonies with this because water is so important to bring in, not only in the ground but above the clouds, to get our troposphere and atmosphere healthier. Water changes that as well.
I mean, as you know, you can always encode water yourself
Yep,
by bringing that energy in, sending it through and into the water, and it does taste differently.
it does. There's a lot of ways to do that.
Yeah.
And just as I told you earlier, we are experiencing Stardust hangover.
Mhm.
It's kind of like being a little bit stoned or irie, but you're not really stoned.
Mm.
You're a little scrambled and everything's a little bit non-linear because there's too much going on in your body that you've not acclimated to. So we've been talking about water, whereas that's not the topic of the show today. However, good stuff. We wanted to do it this way. At least I did.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, we both, yeah.
with
Yeah.
the real topic of the day, because I guess we need to kind of go into this Penny is she's the only person I've known that has not been in a human body before, but has been here since God knows when. Way, way, way. We're talking 100,000 years or more. So she has some very valuable information. And also, Penny is mixes a very unique form of astrology and sound activation together to do work with people to transform, and also is very connected to Egypt, even though she lives in southwest France, which to me is the most powerful place in the world. However, for Penny, when she goes to Egypt, it's coming home to activating and being in something that is home for her. She's now a tour guide leading tours there. Uh, so, you know, I guess we need to start with just, can you start to tell us some of the history of what's happened with you in the world so people can kind of get an idea of what it's like to talk to somebody that's that old?
Oh,
You look pretty young.
well, thanks. No, this is my first time in a human body, but I have been on planet a long time in different forms in galactic bodies. This was before, so 10,000 years ago was when we all left, because Gaia had decided to go on an experience where humans, where animals had to recapture their light. So all the light was stored within the dragon paths, within the crystal, the huge crystals on planet, the huge crystal beds. And the whole part of this experience from that moment on was to recapture the light. So you came in, you're coming through a Syrian, not Sirius, the planet, but you're coming through a Syrian doorway where anything that incarnates on this planet comes through that doorway, from a blade of grass to a human being.
Mm.
And when you incarnate, you arrive with this Syrian remembrance of still of who you are, and then it ebbs and flows with the Gaian energy, which is about forgetting, and then to recapture that as you go through your journey, your life, your experience.
So this would be somebody that would be extraterrestrial in some origin, but would be coming to this planet to become embodied as a earth creature or earth substance of some sort. Is that what you're saying?
No, what we're actually saying is that when we incarnate, anybody from anywhere has to come through this Syrian doorway.
Gotcha.
It works with the planet. 10,000 years ago, well, 100,000 years too, and 200,000 years before that, we came and we worked with Gaia. I saw her being born. I know this because I'm a past life regressionist, and I've had to work through a lot of stuff to come to terms with this, because you feel kind of on your own. And I know there are others out there, which is why Bart so generously said, come on air and talk about it. So there are others of us out there. Our last remembrance of these times, these where there are different times of light. So you had the Lemurian times, which was the white light. You went to the Atlantean times, as you would know it, which was the green arc light. And then we went to the blue light, which was the mixture of, so the planet was seeded, then the kids grew and they went off to play. And then the Galactics came in and played with the humans.
Mm.
And then that's when Guy said, okay, we've had a lot of fun, so let's see what it would be like to forget, to be incarnated and to find the light, to remember. And this is where we've been for about 10,000, maybe 25,000 years now.
So a lot of people about 10,000 years ago knew of this synchronicity between humans and galactics or ETs or whatever you want to call them. And they function in this, I don't want to say harmonious, but they created a lot of cool stuff. That's one thing we can't deny. And then
Gaia said, okay, let's go through a new experience on planet. So through all sentient beings and non-sentient beings, I want to go on the journey of recapturing the light. So all the light went out all over the planet like fairy lights, and it was all stored in the crystal grids. It was all stored in the great crystals. This is why when we hold crystals, we can feel that energy.
So this would be crystals in the earth,
Yeah,
the crystal grids underneath the earth.
yeah,
And then one reality that I've been tapping into this, but you use it very in a very unique way, the great crystal
yeah,
that fuels so much there. Um, it's interesting how we're coming up with the same story, though we've never talked about this.
yeah,
Uh, great crystal is a reality where a lot of the otherworldly presence and presence of Gaia all come together.
yes.
Yeah.
And in the era of the white light, the Lemurian light, it was the Lemurian portal was so 5-dimensional energy and above could actually physically work with 4-dimensional and down, even though interdimensionally on the planet she has many dimensions, but there are certain dimensions, as you know, go with certain dimensional
Right, right.
experiences. But it's quite interesting at that time because we were the last galactics to leave. And, I worked with my light cat. I had a good friend who was a young Egyptian boy, and we used to work together. It got a bit tricky towards the end where a lot of humans were starting to forget. So there was a lot of fear that was coming around us.
So when they say they forget their alien knowledge and that expansiveness left, and they were left with a human body that kind of like Old Testament stuff. They had fear, anger, love, all overwhelmingly empowered in their body. It must have been quite a
Yeah.
shock to suddenly go
Well,
dark.
it graduated in. Like the light goes out in increments, but when I saw it, it was all the lights were going out. Like
Wow.
Christmas was finishing. But it wasn't. It was just another experience. There's no good or bad, there just is.
Yeah.
But it was phenomenal I've remembered through my past life regression this energy, and I've been doing this for quite some time now, and I've been channeling a lot. This is why we've created this new astrology, and it's frequency astrology, because it helps you recenter it during these times.
And when we say frequency astrology, it means doing sound activations that parallel with your astrological design. So it's very personal
Yeah.
in that direction that it goes inside of you.
Yeah, you have like 26 that we're aware of at the moment, energy centers that all have personal frequencies. So you can actually be very precise with your energy.
It makes you wonder that this hybrid, for lack of better words, let's straighten this up a little bit. You don't have enough light on you. This hybrid, it probably had a lot more energy centers than just 26.
Well, yeah, but our consciousness is opening. So when I started doing this back in 2012, we worked with 12 energy centers. We're now up to 26, and we've just uncovered another 2 that works with asteroids.
Whoa.
And lost planets.
So when you talk about 24, 26, or these numbers, we're talking about planets in our solar system.
Yeah, the inner solar system.
The inner solar that reflects the outer solar system, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, when we look to the stars, humanity always seems to ask for answers, not realizing they're asking themselves. And you have an inner solar system that we make you aware of and how to work with it, just to start off with, and then you can roll with it because it's your energy. And it's just quite fascinating when you can be really specific with your energy. There are collective, there's a human design, it's a pentagon, it's a dodecahedron. There is the human design with collective frequencies, but at the moment we're working with personal frequencies to get people into their own sovereignty and turning their own light on.
Yes.
Empowerment.
So this is a lot about coming home, so to speak.
Yeah.
That this process in these next years, and particularly, the energy where I've been in, wherever it's been in the Southwest France area for the last week, has frankly been popping. It's almost like there's this huge vortex of high vibrational energy wherever I go. that's magnificent. And, what do you do when you're bathing in this stuff? Well, you don't sit around and watch television. Let's just put it that way. You get busy with whatever creative endeavors because that's probably the path that you are ready to take at that moment.
Yeah, now's the time when we enter our own DNA, our own blueprint that we created on the time, date, and place we were born. We created this blueprint of frequencies for now.
Mm-hmm.
And as we remember who we are, I was shown through Venus. She took me to this place where how when you work with your heart and you see these DNA columns coming up and you can enter them, and where you find joy, it opens up your DNA. And
Indeed.
there was a great phrase that I heard the other day about the homo luminous, not the Homo sapien, but the Homo luminous. And I really like that coin. That I think that works perfectly because,
Homo luminous.
yeah, because we're starting to hold more light because
Yes.
our consciousness is opening. So as our consciousness opens, we hold more light.
So let's talk about this joy thing because that has a lot of different, and people interpret that concept very differently. I mean, when I think of like somebody like John Bradshaw, because that's the definition that I like to use, but his is very intellectual, but he was a heart-centered person. John Bradshaw would say joy is when you feel whole and complete in that moment, and a happiness comes. It's bigger than happiness. It's more complete than happiness.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that? What would you say about it?
Well, I was shown friends of mine, and they were meditating. This is in this is in a meditation, and the helixes were coming out of the heart. And as we went into the helix, they were just like bookshelves. And then one of my friends, who is an amazing crystal healer, she opened a book on crystals. Her heart expanded, her DNA expanded, more helixes came in, and she was expanding with the light. That was her joy. There was another friend who makes guitars, plays guitars, loves wood. He, in his heart and his bookshelf, he opened this book and it was all about guitars, and his heart opened. So it's whatever your joy is. Then it showed me and the frequency astrology, and my heart opened. So it just depends what your joy is.
Indeed, like last night when we were at the Booger Rush, experiencing the eclipse, that was a form of joy. And sometimes when you get to that type of energy, yes, the things that are bothering you, you need to deal with. What's repressed may come up, and it's an opportunity to resolve it so the joy becomes more full. It's almost like the joy comes alive, and it's going to try to push anything that's in the way so it can be more joy. And it's not joy itself, it's your body. It's your embodiment. Your embodiment loves this stuff.
Yeah, and you'll find that things that really mattered suddenly don't matter as much.
Yeah, because you're whole.
And you'll find that as you're walking forward at the moment, things that really, really, really bothered you don't bother you so much. And if they do, then consciously, maybe this is your journey just to put it down.
Yeah.
Find what you've learned from it, invoke
Yeah.
the three, and walk forward. Because for your consciousness to open, for the galactics who are waiting to come and join the party, we need to be at a certain level of heart opening. Yeah.
There's something, well, we're getting close to the mid part of the show, so I just wanted to let everybody know that you are with Pennie Loftus, and she is a astrologer slash sound activation extraordinaire, inventing her own techniques that came from ancient times when we had light. And this information has been coming and downloading in her for the last 13 years. And it's coming alive more and more every day. She's the hungriest person for consciousness I think I know. I mean, I'm very hungry for consciousness. I work at it every day. She's like one of my people. I go, God, how does she get all that energy and get all of that stuff done? It's always amazing. So Pennie is at dragonseyehub.com and is getting ready to embark on an Egyptian tour.
We are. It's going to be amazing with my friend Jutta, who trans-channels. She speaks ancient languages, and we met through a friend at Le Con here in the south of France. She put us together, and we went to Saint Baume together and the Cave of Eggs, and suddenly it came in Egypt. We've got to go. We've got to go. And then we got in touch with Hakeem, who's been on your show.
Yep, he was on 2 weeks ago. Hakeem Awan.
Amazing guy. And when we got together last year in an eclipse, and that's when we did a lot of work at the Osiris temple, and that's where it all began. And it was just an invitation from my guys just to go and play, and I went with some extremely amazing people, some really good friends, and we really did create. And then this is fully guided. We didn't think we'd get the Sphinx on 11/11. We didn't think we would get the pyramid between the hours of 9 and 11 on the 10th. And then when I said, is there any way we can get close by to a desert? Because my great friend Vanessa, she works from the Siwa desert, but that's quite a way away, and we only had 7 days. And he said, yes, actually, there's a place where my grandfather used to go, and it's got a healing lake. Because I said, does it have water? And he says it has 3 waters, and it's a healing lake. And I said, does it lay on a bed of Andara? And he said, how do you know that? And I said, well, it just came in. And beyond that is the Valley of the Whales, where there's a lot of, it used to be a seabed. It was a sea 40 million years ago. And they're now finding these fossils of huge whale bones that are now stone. And this is where the magic, the minute you walk on those lands, you breathe that air, it activates within the mucus, within you, within the plasma within your body, because we're 70% water, and it starts activating within. And so we're getting together. It's not going to be a big tour, no more than 13 people. And we're all going to be working together, empowering each other with all our own rememberings. But Jutta and I put it together. It's going to be phenomenal.
It is. And I got a question. I got 2 questions, but before I get into these questions, I'd like everybody to know that you are on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 103.5 FM out of New Orleans, Louisiana. And when you're on a seabed like that, you were telling me that there's like a crystalline base underneath it that somehow has some parallel. Did I get that right?
So there's a huge crystalline bed of Andara crystal, which has monochromatic energy within it, and this holds light and knowledge. And when you mix that with the ancient whale energy and the water within the desert that's crystallized, it's going to start waking you up on many, many, many levels.
And when we talk about Andaric crystals, they're very special crystals, mostly found around volcanoes or high energy places like stargates. So it was like, duh, sure they're going to be in Egypt. But they hold potent powers that open your other dimensional self, basically. They also look like just kind of like slag glass.
Yeah.
You know,
there's one.
They're not that spectacular looking like a quartz crystal with all the fine lines and stuff. They just look like pieces of glass. However, when you pick one up, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Also, you brought up in the first half of the story, and you've referenced this a few times, about Gaia, almost like Gaia, which would be the life being of the earth itself, was making these decisions about the people. That, you know, almost like it's time for the light to go to dark, or the light within people, or the light of the extraterrestrial being that's in people to turn off, And as you talk about that, it's almost like Gaia was making that decision.
So Gaia is a consciousness like we're all conscious. And Gaia is a huge consciousness that you can play on. And so you have an invitation to co-create with her. So the invitation was, hey guys, it's not galactic, it's from source, it's source light. We happen to be galactics that were working with source light at that time. But it's really interesting when you connect with Gaia and realize that when you work with these huge energies, which she is, all planets are huge energies, we're all seeds of those energies. And when Gaia said, hey, I'm going to create a new playground, and the new playground is going to be the playground where you recapture your light, who wants to play. And you may say, hey, you're in your soul group, you're back wherever you are, and you may, well, actually, I won't mind having a go playing with that. And so you incarnate on her with that game.
That's wonderful. Just to give some advice or counsel to everybody listening, whether they may not be able to go to Egypt or some of these high energy places that we talk about, how are some good ways that they can connect with this being Gaia who's within the earth? We talk about Gaia being the being of earth. Can you give some people some ideas of how to connect and be with it?
First of all, bare feet on the ground. Close your eyes. Invoke the frequency of 174, which is the collective frequency of the Earth star energy, which is the connection to Gaia, and see what comes into your field. Now, if you want a personal experience, I've started not teaching, but helping people remember how to be frequency therapists. So there's 9 now all over the world. We're going to be teaching more if anyone wants to. Just get in touch. But you can get in touch with a frequency therapist and they will do your chart, and you will have a frequency that you can either invoke or you can play. It doesn't matter if you're deaf, because it's a frequency and it is a wave. And it will, if you invoke that frequency using your heart, which is your throat, it will interact with your field, which at the moment is 8 meters up and 8 meters out. If you're working with the light consciously as you are, Bart, your meter will be 12 meters. And right now, all our fields are expanding, which is what we're feeling.
Yeah.
That can bring uneasiness. That can bring, I'm not sure about this. It can, but it's shaking the energy. Your field is expanding, so you can actually see, hear, and feel more in many different ways.
Yeah. I think it's a lot in just stretching out and believing that you can. For me to connect with the spirit of Gaia, I asked Body, can you connect with Gaia? And a part of my presence goes down into the earth just super fast. Well, there's not a speed to it, but I feel like I connect with a small sun, but it's a very gentle and it doesn't have all this power emanated out of it. It's just this life force that's so powerful that it doesn't need to emanate something that pushes out. It just gently vibrates. And that's how I feel it. And then when I connect with Gaia and I have that link, then I ask that link, that energy, to come into my body so my body can learn that vibration.
That's lovely.
And there's a lot of ways you can do it, and so you can find your own ways. It's not like
you don't need anything. You just need your heart. You just say, bare feet on the floor, I want to connect to you now, Gaia. There's many ways. People call it earthing, but you can just simply connect, especially right now because the energy's hot.
Yeah, I think you just have to try. You see what happens. You trust, and be humble with it. Sometimes I connect with energies or think I'm connected to energies and I miss it, but I think I am. But after I do it for a while, I go, well, this really probably wasn't it. You can make as many mistakes as you have your successes.
I mean, I would also say that you can imagine light coming in through the top of your head, coming into your heart, and then expanding out your feet and your hands into your field, into Gaia, and offering this light. Do it 3 times maybe.
Yep.
And then say, I'd like you said, I'd like to connect to you. Or you can say, I invoke my 174. I am released and I am received.
And that would be 174 hertz frequency.
Yes,
that you can get with a tuning fork
you can.
and use that. Or just ask that frequency to come alive in your body.
Yeah.
Your body has that type of knowing. But, you know, when you went to Egypt, because you really haven't been to Egypt in this lifetime until last year.
No, absolutely. But prior to last year, I've been having lots of memories, lots and lots of memories coming in.
Yeah, yeah. So can you give us some ideas of what you see Egypt was way, way, way back?
So about 100,000, 200,000 years ago was when we came with many others and worked with humanity, opening hearts, ideas and minds and consciousness for the highest good. And we created the pyramid system all over the world, on seabeds, everywhere, because these were portals of intergalactical travel. And Gaia we called the Pearl, and she was seen as a holiday destination where people could come and play in physical form with emotion. And it was very harmonious. So the Sphinx, for instance, what I remember, it was on columns. It had huge steps all the way around, a bit like a university complex, and it was very lush and green, because when you work within a pyramid, inside the pyramid, everything outside flourishes with whatever you're working on inside. And because when we used to work, it was called a stream of energy would come in like a thread, like a string, and you could absorb into it to depart, or you could come through that thread, and you would then, the sarcophaguses would have either, we were talking about this last night, either a mummy or of a body that you can then come straight into. You didn't have to incarnate and create the body. You could just come in and use one. So they were mummified and stored and kept for you to use.
I remember that conversation we were having yesterday. It's almost as if the mummy had a DNA encoding like all bodies do.
Yeah.
And because that encoding was established in this reality, the human reality, it was easy to morph a body into it. Almost.
Absolutely. And you, as the string of the energy that you were coming in, you had already matched and resonated yourself with that blueprint. And that's why water was needed and different crystal energies were needed for the frequency, because everything's frequency. And then we used to use the frequencies for everything. Frequency was, we used to teach humans how to sing certain frequencies, tone certain frequencies in choirs, and show them how to move and elevate and create with them.
And levitate.
All of it. All of it. All of it.
I mean, those pyramids were not created by a bunch of pulleys and levers, folks. And also thinking about, they're going to transport a 20 by 20 foot piece of granite, 100 miles to put on a pyramid. And those things were flawless. There's no cracks in them, because they always say, well, logically, or, if an engineer looked at a pyramid and said, well, it shouldn't be standing. This just crack and crumble, because nothing can handle that intensity of weight. However, if you have perfect stones, they do.
And it's interesting because it's not the pyramid with a flat bottom. They're actually diamond pyramids. And so we're going to, as our consciousness opens, we're going to find out more and more what's going on underneath the pyramid.
Wow.
Because it works with Gaia, and they're all over the planet, everywhere, on the seabeds, everywhere.
So you're talking almost like you get a pyramid coming up, but also you have one underneath it. Down.
Mirrored. So in my garden, I've got a pyramid upside down in the floor, and I've got a pyramid over the top, because it then co-creates with the crystal of Gaia, the heart of Gaia, whatever word you want to use, and the cosmic or source heart. And it works, it's this energy string. It's using the magnetics of the planet, it's using the toric fields, it's using it's phenomenal.
It really makes you wonder, because we're in France and there's ley lines everywhere, and they're crossing, and we're going, well, who made those? They just didn't pop up because they're too exacting, they're too purposeful. They're connected with the Giza and various places in Egypt a lot of the time, or other places that kind of make no sense, but they were powering up all of these energies to help make grids for.
Yeah, they were super connected, and it was part of Gaia's magnetic highway that we worked with. It wasn't we placed them in, they were already, she placed them in certain forms, and then we would place certain pyramids in certain places, obelisks in certain places, water, crystal energy, sound, frequency, because it's a wave. It was quite something. And we used to create frequency, and we used to place it into gold, and people could wear that, and the frequency would be in that precious metal. And so as we got towards the end, 10,000 years ago, before we left, because it was getting a bit hot on planet with fear, we used to put the necklaces or amulets on our cats, and the cat used to take them to the person and they would wear them. So now when you look at gold, all the precious metals and the crystals and things like this, it's a remembrance of times gone by, 200,000 years ago.
And so when they make these designs on a piece of gold, that's the whole important part, was the design, and the gold was just the carrier.
Just the carrier. And what you found was, if it had certain stones on it, it's because they could hold certain frequencies. The gold could hold a certain frequency, but if you needed more, then you had to place certain stones like diamonds, rubies, emeralds, because they could hold a different frequency, and together they would work on the person.
And just because a lot of people get stones on and they go, oh, this is going to create this type of characteristic in my body. I'm going to have calm, or I'm going to have whatever. When we think of the ancients, though, and this is more of a question than anything, they would also create an inner alignment with themselves with the gold. It was the inside and outside job.
Yeah.
These are the jewelry is just a magnifier. It didn't create it.
No, so we would work on the stone or metal and infuse the frequency, because we could. It's a bit like a doctor. We knew what emotion needed a certain frequency to help it, and so we would invoke the frequency, would give that, you show them how to use it, and it was a bit like tablets from a doctor, but this, and then when they didn't need it anymore, they could just lay it down.
Yeah, it's really nice to have the purity inside of yourself, that the design and the light and everything of you was full of joy, whole and complete, and you had a joyful body, like you're walking with it all the time. You didn't need a jewelry.
I mean, when we were working within the pyramids, everyone thrived outside, because the energy was of the whole energy. Everything was harmonious. But then as the light started going out, as the light started, say it was like water, and the water was getting lower and lower, then the other energy was getting higher and higher. And so this is when disease came in. This is when all kinds of things happened with the human body for us to play with. It wasn't a bad thing. It was just to experience.
Yeah.
And then when the atom was split, that was the moment when this experience would come to an end.
Okay, so let's add in some things. So when Gaia took the light out of all of these life forms, and it went out of the people, we went into a dark age. And this is a long time ago, 10,000 years ago.
Yeah, more. Yeah.
When the atom was split in the 1940s, that was the
moment.
The starting point.
Yeah. And so then after that, we had the harmonic convergence, we had the indigo children, we had so much coming after that. But the first generation that was born after that, we have collective frequencies in our throat energy, in our harps. And the first generation to come in that was, because this was sent out to all the different matrix 6 holograms universes, that the atom has been split on planet Earth in that certain solar system, on that certain dimension. It's time to come in. So people would incarnate with 528. The next generation would be 639.
So it was a wake-up call to all the other planets to come in. And of course, they've been circling the planet all along, though more of them have come. But also the humans that had all of this dormant DNA in their history of incarnations, that started waking up.
Yes.
Okay, getting this straight.
Yeah, because what you find is that it's not done to us. Like Guy said, I'm having this experience, who wants to join? So people incarnated. Then we had a bit of an experience with karma. So now we're bringing karma to an end, which is why there are many galactics, there are many all playing out karma on this planet, because the karma was an issue at some point, because it was slowing the cogs down, and this was resonating out to other matrices, other holograms of the universes. So everyone knew at some point they had to come in and balance this out. And it's not Gaia who's doing this. People who incarnated to play this game are playing it out now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wake up, people.
Yeah. Or not, if that's your journey.
But we prefer you wake up.
Yeah.
And to start to practice some of these tools of like, how can I become more joyful in my life, embody this, to where a design in me is actually lighter in my body. I'm not carrying so much negative emotions all the time, but actually I am joyfully making guitars or doing paintings or going to my job and being a fun guy or something. There's so many applications that this comes out. You don't have to be sitting in a chair by yourself meditating with crystals and having fancy jewelry on. It's so different. You brought up a point that might be applicable today. I'm just going to ask. You're saying when the fear started heating up, people started changing. And it's just so funny because right now, all over the world, there's a lot of fear happening, and the world is heating up.
Yeah. When we have an emotion of any kind, Gaia reflects it. And I mean, this is a whole other subject, but Gaia would absorb a lot of it, but now it's time to open our consciousness. She's not subduing it as much as she did, but whatever we create, she can mirror it. And the rest of it, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
We are the inner solar system, and there is an outer solar system.
Yeah.
We have a reality that we're creating, but we're unconscious of it, but we're now coming into a conscious moment. I know it's a concept.
Yeah.
I mean, the concept was, when it first came in, was you are the stars.
And this is a personal job. You can say, well, the world's changing and I'm not going to live with fear. You're probably going to be living in denial.
Not denial.
And it's kind of like, no, there are things to be afraid of. But do you handle that and try to push it out of your life like, oh, I can't have that, I'm afraid of it? That exasperates fear, as opposed to looking it straight in the eye and seeing what you're afraid of and seeing the worst case scenarios of all your greatest fears and seeing them as clearly as you possibly can and receiving them. And then they start to be embodied in you, and then you can start working with them and they start to feel different. The world isn't working out the way I planned. It's very true. However, I can look at that and go, yes, it's not. I don't have all the answers, and I'm not a president or a king or anything. So I had to have some humility there. However, I keep my perspective up
This
so
is
it doesn't
it.
eat me up. And
Yeah,
therefore, I contribute to Gaia being happier.
absolutely. And when you also contribute to the collective, which helps them. You know, just saying to somebody, "Hey, how are you doing today?" If you're having a bad day, being honest about it and saying, "Do you know what? I need a bit of space today." You know, like
Yeah,
so you can work with that energy.
yeah,
There's a lot of authenticity and humanness that would be good to be played out right now. And be kind to yourself, step back from a bit of drama and see how you truly feel about it. Or is it everybody else's drama that you're joining in on, you know?
yeah, exactly. Sometimes you don't need to believe everybody else's drama because it's their drama.
Yeah.
Uh, and somehow there's an implant of that within the earth. We call it fear. We might call it the Arconian energy. It's always been here. And it's one of our biggest lessons in how to learn how to deal with it. Maybe another show topic with there. So just wanted to let everybody know that you are on Becoming Quantum Conscious. My name is Bart Sharp. Our guest today is Pennie Loftus at dragon'seyehub.com. She does private sessions of magnitude with sound activations, astrology, and mixing these together to where your human design, your light design becomes more empowered in your life, and to learn tools on how to, you know, continue to create that. That's always great. Also, a tour coming in November.
Yes.
We talked about some. Um, let's see. You are on United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 103.5 FM out of New Orleans, Louisiana. And next week, if you thought this show was out there,
Or post Boogarash.
I got another one of my French neighbors on the show, Jacques Chapelet, one of the original teachers of human design. And we're going to go into the the channelings and teachings of what the distant future will look like for humankind. That's not that far distance in the next 10 years. Of where we're going in the human design model and where it's going to evolve to. And all I can say is, folks, it'll be interesting. I love Jacques. He's great. So, any words of wisdom? We've got about a minute.
Okay.
What words of wisdom do you want to leave with everybody?
I would say if you're having a hard time, bare feet on the ground and just connect to Gaia. Let those magnetics release all that energy and look in the mirror and just give yourself a smile.
That's wonderful. It's great having you on the show.
Thank
Pennie.
you, Bart, as always. Thank you.
Yeah, and you'll be in Australia in a few weeks, and then
yes.
onward to Egypt.
Yes.
And then a wonderful winter in France.
Oh yeah, of writing.
And writing.
Book.
The new book, and the first book you had was by Pennie Loftus, Becoming the New Normal.
Being amazing. The new normal. Yeah. The inner solar system. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much for reminding me.
Sorry.
All right. We'll see everybody next week. Bye for now.